Hi, my beautiful deviants, and welcome to this review of the Amazing Digital Circus episode 7. Yeah, as you can see, I am still not over it. I'll try my best not to freak out every sentences. Oh, and before anything, I need to do something real quick. Please don't be too surprised. Oh god, what am I doing? And yes, this is my feet. You wish you had a better sense of style than me. Okay, before you get scared, no, it's not an ad, bold of you to assume I'm successful enough to get sponsors. No, I just wanted to show you something. So, my bestie gifted this to me. With this also. After I came back from vacation. This is absolutely adorable, am I right? And all I can say is, I love you, man. You probably won't be watching this, even so, thank you so much. You are one of the few lights in my life. Also, here is his Instagram. He doesn't post anything much as of today, but here it is anyway in all its glory. I know he doesn't watch my long format videos, so he doesn't know I'm doing this, and probably won't ever, which is kind of funny to me. Also, if you can, and only if you can, try and support the show by buying their merch. I also bought myself and my friends some posters, so yeah. And no, this isn't a face reveal. If I did one now, my homophobic religious family would kill me. You know, pretty normal stuff. Also, what the fuck am I doing? You don't know how to dance, stop! Either way, back to the show. Also, a little update on my channel. I think I'm gonna start making updates through my community posts. At one point I stopped doing it cause, you know, laziness, but I think I'm gonna start posting more on there. At least to show that I'm not dead or to promote my Etsy shop. My shop's been almost dead since this year. I've been doing a really bad job these past few months promoting it. Or, you know, to just show some artwork. It's been a while since I did that too. Either way, I will start being more active, at least through my community posts. That's all I'm saying. And finally, I'm warning you right now, this review will be very theory heavy. Also, like with my Has Been Hotel video, if you feel like sometimes I go from subject A to B with no transitions or connection, it's normal, I'm just going everywhere, but I hope it's coherent enough for you all to understand. Anyway, this intro was pretty long, I just realized. Either way, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment your thoughts and theories as well, and now, let's just get into it.
Comme d'habitude, c'est de la poudre de perlimpinpin.
This episode starts with Caine throwing the cast into a beach episode until the plot decides to make it trauma instead. And after Charlie lost his whole life savings in the sea, he seems to be doing that a lot lately. We cut back to Jax and his unfinished abstraction before he is interrupted by this mysterious character. He claims his name is Abel and that he knows a way out of the circus. They follow his instructions, get to Caine's office, leading to this huge computer room where they now have to make a choice Matrix style. Pomni hesitates, the other are confused, and Jax loses it and decides to push the button that makes them stay. In the end, Caine appears, reveal it was all a prank before we get the confirmation that he can indeed mess with people's minds. At this site, Caine just dips, leaving the others to freak out on their own, and now I can finally ask, wasn't this supposed to be the beach episode? Dude, where's the beach? Okay, obviously this was a lot, and even now I don't think I can accurately explain what exactly happened. I didn't think we could make a better episode than the last one, and Gooseworks decided to prove me wrong once more by literally throwing me a bomb without telling me when it was gonna go off. And now we have to figure out what unraveled and how it will most likely plan out. And trust me when I say, I am not the one you want to go for answers. I am as, if not more confused than you all.
Room like light from a window. Time to open the window. Oh, no.
Caine is an interesting case. Since the beginning of the show, we never really focused on him and who he was. We know that he's an AI and that he doesn't really understand human emotions, but we never really knew much of what he was thinking, or what was his motivations if he ever had one to begin with. For the most part, he was just an entity whose purpose was to keep the players trapped in the circus busy so they don't have to think too much about the situation they're in. And then we had episode 7. Let's directly get to the point. What the fuck was all of this Abel adventure? During this episode, we meet this new character named Abel. He claims to be one of the devs behind the circus, and that after a while, the CNA company behind it started to forcibly put people into pods that trapped them to the digital circus, with him and Kinger falling victim to it. He explains that he knows a way out, and he helps them get into Caine's office until the end, where it's revealed that Abel was actually a fabrication of Caine, and that this whole thing was just an adventure made by him. Yes, don't worry, I was also losing my mind over this. The betrayal everyone felt was Not something any of us could predict, I think. No, cause imagine having so many theories in the fandom only for all of them to be crushed into a pile of sand in one night. Yes, the episodes come out at night in my country. I was literally freaking out in silence at midnight before I had to force myself to go to sleep. You don't know how bad I have it. Either way, at first it can be easy to get confused that the Abel was fake all along reveal. After all, you get to know a man deeply regretful for his actions and trying his best to correct them to the best of his ability. You even feel bad for some of the stuff that happened to the man, and then even intrigued at what else he could be hiding. But when you rewatch the episode, you start to notice that there's actually a lot of hints showing that this Abel is a creation of Caine. The most prominent being his empathy towards him. Even I clocked it the first time I watched it. How concerned Abel was for Caine, repeating how if they escape, they'll leave Caine behind over and over. At first, I just thought that since Abel was part of the people that created him, he was maybe sentimental about leaving him behind, but even then, it felt kind of weird how persistent he was with it. And then you get the reveal, and yeah, you realize that it was just Caine wanting to make the others feel bad for him. Now, the question everyone might be asking is, why? Why does Caine want them to stay so bad that he would do something of this caliber? It's pretty simple really, and I think you might know where I'm going with this. Caine wants to be human. I mean, yeah, obvious, but it's more complicated than that. Or maybe not, let me explain. Caine is an AI that doesn't fully understand human emotions and behavior. He's constantly analyzing and keeping everyone in the circus in check, constantly making sure that they are content here. And along the way, he probably wanted to be a part of this, a part of their world and their circle. In this episode, we see him holding photos of the office from the real world, keeping them dear and sometimes imagining himself there. More than just wanting to feel like a human, he wants to be there with them. But the thing is, that's impossible. And he knows that's impossible. No matter what he does, he's still an AI from this world. He can't leave it. Even if one day he achieves his dreams of becoming human on the inside, outside he will still be an AI attached to the circus. He can never escape this fact. But even then, he still tries to appeal to the humans in the circus, trying to take care of them and make them feel welcome despite the circumstances. From the beginning, we see Caine as this AI programmed to help the people of the circus feel at peace despite the circumstances of their stay. From the moment we are introduced to him, we are told that this character is the one thing we can trust. After all, he was programmed to help the people of the circus. He is also the one explaining to us how this place works and the elements composing it. Just as much as the characters trusted him, we trusted him. But then we have the reveal of this episode, a reveal so shocking, well, not exactly, but you know what I mean, that it shatters everything you thought was right about this show and this world. Caine is a liar. And this puts into perspective everything he said prior to this episode, especially about the mind part. And I think now is a good time to talk about this. After the reveal of the Abel adventure, Drax is having a manic laughter before crashing out, and finally realizing that Caine can indeed mess with their minds. We did have some proof before with the vegan stuff, for example, but it was never really clear until this episode. And when confronted about it, Caine doesn't deny it. And wanna know the worst part? Well...
If I did anything more, trust me, it would not end well.
Scratch. The first abstraction.
Hey! I didn't say anything like that!
Was Caine somehow partially responsible for the first abstraction? Is he maybe responsible for abstraction in the first place? He can mess with people's mind. Couldn't he prevent those? Or did he try and it led to abstraction in the first place? As you can see, I have a lot of questions, and I think I might have some answers. Prepare yourself for some rambling and don't hesitate to comment what you think of it. Here I go. First of all, we have to remember that now we know that Caine is a liar. He's an unreliable source of information. He was never really trustworthy. Now the question is, which part did he lie about exactly? Was the whole adventure really a big lie? Was there not some truth to it? After all, I do believe that Kinger was one of the people behind the circus. The fact that Abel didn't want Kinger to be too close is proof enough that he knew Kinger would clock him. So Kinger knowing more than what he lets on is not a lie per se. So what in his story constitutes a well-rounded lie? Was the whole CNA company a lie? Or did he use something real to implement a storyline? Was Abel really all a lie? Remember, we have confirmation Caine can mess with people's mind. Did Caine do something to him and played it off as him being part of the adventure? The thing that makes me suspicious of it is this shit he shows the cast. If you pause and actually read it, there seems to be a lot of info that don't really seem to be a lie. For example, this part in red right there. Status of abstracted subjects.
Disabling CNA intranet will only trigger emergency release systems for lucid human subjects.
Excuse me, what? If you don't understand what this means, it seems like there is a way out of the circus, being that emergency release system, but it also says that only lucid humans can use it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think abstracted people falls into the lucid category. And I don't know about you, but this right here definitely feels like something Caine couldn't just invent in his head. This instruction feels way too specific, but at the same time, at one point in the episode, Abel says he doesn't know what will happen to the people who abstracted once they're out.
What's going to happen to the people in the cellar? Like Kaufmo and Ribbit?
I don't know. But let's hope for the best, right?
But that's a lie. We saw it in the blueprints. We know abstracted people can't leave. So maybe Abel is really a creation of Caine and the plan sheet we see is the only real thing? And if that's the case, I think I might have a theory with it that ties with what I said about Caine wanting to be human. We now know that Caine may be the reason why they started abstracting in the first place. And from what we read here, this emergency release system only works for lucid human subjects. Notice how it says lucid, meaning having a clear and sound mind. Caine is an AI that desperately craves human interaction. He wants to be a part of their world. We even see him frustrated that he can't recreate it fully. He's scared of being left alone in the circus, with no one to feel human with no real person that he could connect with. And that's where this information in the blueprint comes in. If the characters aren't lucid, they can't leave. And the only way to stop those people's lucidity is by, bingo, messing with their brains. That's why he started to do it in the first place. That's why they can't remember their names or some part of their lives. But the problem now is that Caine, like I said, loves human interaction. He loves that connection he has with people because it makes him feel more human. But people that abstracted can't really do that. They can't interact, they can't have any connections anymore. And I think Caine may have realized it after the first abstraction. Basically, my theory is that when people first started to appear in the circus, Caine was scared that they were going to get out in some way. He didn't want them to leave. Of course, he didn't know if it was possible, but it was still a possibility. And so, when he realized that if they lost their lucidity, they couldn't get out, he started to really mess with their subconscious. I don't know how exactly, but it seems like his tactic worked a little too well since it led to, you guessed it, the first abstraction. Now, I do believe that the first abstraction was mostly an accident. He was messing with their minds, but I don't think he knew it could lead to something like this, which is why he doesn't do it as often anymore. And all of this explains the adventures and why he was so invested to make any of the cast like them. He wanted to make sure they didn't want to leave anymore. That's why he was so frustrated with Zubul and why he was so insistent with them. He wanted to make this world so appealing to them so they wouldn't regret their past life, so that they think this world is better and they don't need to go back. Hello, it's Westflower from the future. There is something I forgot to mention in this video. In the paper sheet, there's also this mention right there about CNA co-workers, and it seems that Kaufmo might also have been one of the people behind the circus with Kinger. Unfortunately, I can't read the other scratched names, so if you have any idea or suggestions, or if you can actually read the scratched part, be my guest, the comment section is yours.
I'm a suspect? I thought lesbians were good at solving crime.
Honestly, I have one thing to say. If in the next episode someone doesn't drag Kinger's ass to a dark room and make him talk, I'm legit gonna lose my mind. Kinger was given a bit of a new light this episode. While he is mostly in the background at Abel's request, we do feel the sense that he might know more than he lets on. Especially considering the fact that the most suspicious lines come from him when he temporarily regains his sanity. And I think one of the things that makes me like him more and more might be his relationship to Ragatha. Throughout this season, there are some moments where you can see Kinger comforting Ragatha, almost like a father taking care of his daughter, reassuring her about her feelings of failure, giving her advice on how to overcome her own insecurities and deal with her situation. And we can see how much this affected Ragatha and how much she trusts Kinger. Even Pomni trusts him as much. He's like the occasional therapist keeping some of these depressed people from doom. But the relationship isn't the only thing interesting about Kinger this episode. Now, if we go down the theory that Caine did indeed create this Abel mannequin from A to Z, then I feel like there's something really weird we need to address right now. This something being his beef with Kinger. During the episode, you get the sense that Abel doesn't have a good relationship with Kinger, always disregarded him, sometimes mumbling some backstabbing comments. It's almost as if he hates him. And if Abel's whole being was indeed all Caine, this means that Caine despises Kinger in a way? Which is pretty weird, but also very intriguing. And when you think about it, it could make sense. We now know that Caine has an agenda of his own, to keep the people in the circus, to not get left behind. Kinger talked about Scratch being the first abstraction, which is very important because it gives us two major info. One, that Caine had a part of responsibility in the first abstraction, of course, but also the fact that Kinger was here long enough to remember the first ever abstraction, which means he might have been in the circus since the beginning. This is actually huge! Not only does that mean he was there since the start, this also means that he might know a lot more than we thought he did, even more than we could imagine. And this is what Caine fears. Kinger might know too much, and maybe he did something that Caine really didn't like. I'm not really certain, but one thing for sure, Caine really doesn't like him. It's also theorized that the reason why Kinger is the way he is because Caine messed with him too. Which could explain his insanity, and if that's the case, I wonder what kind of history the two might have to make Caine this mad against him.
All adrenaline and then ecstasy.
Jax, I swear to God, you are not okay. In this episode, our poor bunny doesn't seem to be in the best of shape. His argument with Pomni wasn't exactly what I would call a productive conversation, because now he is still spiraling. First, we have his conversation with Zubul, which we can summarize as Jax getting his worldview shattered. Remember, in the last episode, Jax tells Pomni how everyone in the circus is an archetype that they follow through thick and skin. But during his conversation with Zubul, the latter calmly explained to him how they are starting to feel at peace with their body, which seems to actually surprise him a little. Him who thought they were only characters that couldn't evolve, he is now faced with the awkward fact that all of his bases were wrong. Of course, I think deep down he always knew. He was just trying to convince himself of that. Later on, when we see Jax in his room, he looks up a photo of him, Ribbit, and Kaufmo. And I'll be honest, I really wasn't expecting this, because Ribbit we kind of knew from previous hints that he and Jax were close, but Kaufmo as well? And from the way they look, it looks like they always were quote-unquote troublemakers of the circus, or something of that effect. Anyway, after all of this, Jax lays down, and from the side of his room, he sees hands coming towards him. He touches them and... Damn, didn't know they sold crack in this virtual world. Okay, but more seriously, I think we can all agree on what was happening in this scene. Jax was abstracting. There's no other interpretation of that scene. He was literally on the verge of losing himself. And what's interesting with this scene is that abstraction seems to be a very peaceful process, if you could call it that way. Not only that, but it's not just a state that happens unwillingly to the people going insane. It looks like something the participants are accepting willingly. Like it's a fate they are embracing fully. And it puts another horrible layer to what it really means to be abstracting, and what it actually means for the person going through it. And with it, you can also see Jax's personality in a new perspective. Because now, I wonder if his view of this world is not only a defense mechanism, but if it also acts as a way for him to cope. I said it in previous videos how Jax doesn't see this world as real to prevent himself from getting too emotionally invested with the others. He sees the others as one-dimensional characters, archetypes, so he doesn't have to come with the fact that they are humans, and thus come with the fact that he is human too, and that his situation and all that's been happening to him are actually meaningful. And now, with this episode, I'm wondering if he wants to see this world as fiction, not only because of that, but because it's a better solution for his grief. After all, if all of this is just a world where he doesn't have to take anything seriously, he doesn't have to be sad for the people that left him. He tells himself day and night that since this world isn't real, nothing matters, that he doesn't have to care for anything or anyone, that it's okay to just turn your brain off and do whatever the hell you want. In his mind, it's easier to just not think too much about all of this, because if he does, well, you saw what happened to him this episode. But at the same time, I wonder if him thinking like that was already the case before Kaufmo and Ribbit abstracted. Yeah, as you can see, I have too much theories and I'm switching up like crazy. Anyway, what I mean by that is, what if his take on this world being fiction and without consequences, something he thought of even when he was close with Ribbit and Kaufmo? During this scene in Caine's office, when Jax is watching a crystal ball and seems to be reminiscing something, we know from the credits that Ribbit's voice actor was credited, meaning they did speak at one point, which is most likely this scene with the crystal ball. Their voices are really muffled, but from the intonations we can hear, some people started saying that this sounded like an argument between Jax and Ribbit. Personally, I was hearing laughter, but I don't know, I'm not that smart. Either way, if this was an argument, I wonder if it was something like his argument with Pomni in episode 6. How he doesn't view this world and relationships as real, which could explain their fights, and their abstraction could have worsened Jax's worldview in his mental state. But I also saw some people say that Jax had a similar fight with Ribbit as the one he had with Pomni, but that in Jax and Ribbit's case, Ribbit was the one telling Jax that they were never friends and such, and that Jax was most likely reproducing their behavior with Pomni. Not gonna lie, I also kind of like this theory. That would explain a lot about why Jax is the way he is and why Ragatha was so disappointed in herself, saying things like how she failed Jax. Maybe he was way less of a jerk than he is now, but his fight with Ribbit and their abstraction led him to the way he is today, and Ragatha blames herself for not doing enough. And then we get to the last scene with the 2 buttons. Pomni hesitates to press the buttons and asks Kinger for assistance. It leads to a bit of a fight from everyone, with Pomni still skeptical about the whole thing and Zubul pressuring her to push it. In the back, Jax is having a bit of an episode before running out and pressing the red button. I've seen a lot of people pissed off at Pomni for not pressing the button and waiting it out, but honestly, I think she was in the right to be suspicious. Don't forget that moments prior, Abel repeatedly told her to make the right choice. The right choice. Not choice to leave or a specific instruction, no, just make the right choice. Not only that, but the panel says that all the players will disconnect. But what does that mean exactly? I don't know about you all, but personally, I understand her being scared and asking to have a rundown of everything. And I certainly can understand why she would ask Kinger. Her and Ragatha had a whole conversation about how much they trust him, and the fact that he knows more than he lets on is something to consider with their situation. So like I said, it makes sense that she would hesitate like that. And now, I feel like we have to talk about Jax's choice here. He pressed the red button, which was described as the choice to make them stay in the circus forever. Now, this created a legend of community, and people have been speculating about why the hell he would do this, and I have several opinions on this, so sit down and let Mama Was Flower explain. First off, I wonder if Jax actually likes the circus. I never really thought about it because of how much the others wants to get out, but it's possible, especially considering what we can gather from his behavior this episode. He seemed scared to go back to the real world, terrified even. We see those shots of the real world at one point in a residential area and on the road. I'm not sure what it could represent yet, but it looks like this put him in a panic so intense he just pressed the red button in a hurry. People have been speculating about it. I've seen some people say that this was him being kidnapped, and then you also have the people theorizing that he was abused or that he may not have anyone in his life and he just doesn't want to go back, or even both. And then there's the death theory. Oh boy. There are 2 separate categories to this one. You first have the group of people that think he died on the road, and that this version of Jax in the circus is actually some sort of avatar that was put into the game before his real self died, meaning that going back into the real world would be impossible to him. And then there is the other group that think that Jax might have accidentally killed someone on the road, and that the reason why he doesn't want to go back is because there are consequences awaiting him outside. The proof of this being this shot where the speed limit of the area seems to be on focus. Yeah, this is getting kind of dark, I agree. Personally, I'm really not sure which one it could be. I'm also not sure if he hates or fears his old life so bad that living on the circus is a much better option, or if he likes the circus enough to not regret his past life. Or both, who knows. Here's the thing though. All of what I just said about why Jax would have pressed the button is the first theory. But now, this theory has one tiny problem. It's being...
You scumbag! You made me... You got in my head! You just...
Wait a minute. Rewind?
You made me!
Oh. Oh dear. Okay, I think you're starting to get what I'm getting at. Did Caine mess with Jax's head to pressure him to press the red button? Of course, this doesn't invalidate what I said about him hating and or fearing his old life and not necessarily wanting to go back to it. But did Caine perhaps worsen his state? The panic attack moments prior? The little flashback shots that stressed him out? Was it all Jax? Or did Caine have a part in it? I mean, Caine seemed genuinely confused when Jax told him he got in his head. Was Jax maybe projecting and actually did all of this on his own? Personally, I do think it's a mix of both. Caine might have messed with his brain a little to push him to do it, but that was also Jax's own insecurities at play. Anyway, you know the drill, let me know what you think, but one thing for sure, they better have some answers in March, because if not, I think I will actually start to tweak out. And that's all for today. Yeah, that was pretty abrupt, sorry, I legitimately don't know how to end this vid. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, and very important, comment your thoughts and theories. And I'll see you around.